This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech players in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Hello everyone, and very much welcome to Breaking Banks Europe, episode number 256. This is news from the Fintech Front with Mico Curatolo and Silvia Attanasio, both from Italy, and they're going to tell us a lot about what's going on in the banking world, not just in Italy, but all across Europe. And I'm really, really happy to have them here on the show. Very much welcome, Mico and Silvia.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me too.
Yeah, great. Great that you could join. And there's a lot going on in the world of fintech, especially in relation to banks. And I'd love to explore with you what's going on and what you're enthusiastic about. But first, let's explore a bit about your background, because some people might not know you yet. Silvia, can you tell me a bit, what does your work look like? You're head of innovation at the Italian Banking Association. What does that entail?
Yes, it is a strange world between rules and engineers, because I cover innovation in a quite traditional world, not being a lawyer nor an engineer. My background is statistical, but I've worked a lot on technologies and trying understanding the priorities of our member banks. Mm-hmm. I also come from the Spunta project, which is a DLT initiative which involves now almost all Italian banks. So I'm very keen to this technology. And now I'm a hard worker on CBDCs, both retail and wholesale.
Cool. So you're exploring indeed a bit the future of banking there from the perspective of the association. That sounds really interesting. Thanks for joining us.
Last Christmas, someone gifted me with a crystal ball, because sometimes it's needed to understand what's going on.
Oh, nice. Well, I love that. So let's see if we can use that crystal ball a little bit today during the episode. Mico, really great to have you here as well. You're also in the DLT space and digital assets for Banca Sella. Tell us a bit about what you do.
So again, thank you for having me here. I'm leading the effort of Banca Sella over the DLT and digital asset space. Back in 2021, we established a competence center that is a cross-functional team that at first designed the strategy and then performed some tests and POC, and is now ready to bring the first solution to the market. So we're basically designing new services around DLT solution and digital assets for the bank in this first phase. But the aim in the medium term is to enable the other part of the ecosystem, as Sella did for other important innovation in the financial ecosystem.
Okay, cool. And what are you most enthusiastic about? What kind of use cases do you see is most applicable or closest to market access?
Oh, this is a very interesting time, first of all, because the regulation just came and there's a way more room to get into some businesses that were far from the banking in the last few years. I believe the first and most important is the custody layer. So the ability for a regulated body to enter the wallet space and explore it with the value-added services. Plus, there's the tokenized economy explosion thanks to the new taxonomy provided by MiCAR. And this will populate a new whole value chain from issuing tokenized assets to distributing it and so on and so forth. Yeah. And last but not least, there's all the solution around the cash leg of this tokenized economy. So what is around stable coins, e-money tokens, CBDCs, and so on.
Yeah, that's quite. And do you see that is that something that you, for example, would be interesting as Banca Sella to actually issue a stablecoin, for example? Is it that level that you're exploring, or is it more that you aim to identify what kind of stablecoins are around and what kind of roles should we play, for example, for custody or as a trader? How do you look at that?
I would say we are definitely looking in both directions. Our strategy aims to realize a custody layer at first because we believe it is the foundational layer. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when dealing with a company only issued stable coin, you should carefully understand market dynamics to see if you have the enough scale to bring this solution to the market, if you have the ability to act in a closed or in an open environment, and in these two different options, you should always be able to put enough control and be sure that the end customers is protected. My personal view is that banks will do both, will probably both follow a systemic approach or with existing stable coins or with new issued stable coins maybe backed by banks consortiums or NewCo with this purpose. And on the other hand, they will probably also look into issuing their own, maybe for more little use cases or for process optimization.
Okay. Yeah. I think nice that you actually mentioned collaboration there, because I was also curious to learn more from what Silvia mentioned, this pan-Italian collaboration on central bank digital currency. Silvia, can you maybe tell us a bit about that project?
The digital euro, you mean?
Yeah, is it the digital euro in general? Because you mentioned something on an Italian collaboration as well, if I understand correctly.
Yes, there is quite an active interaction at the European level with the different fora established by the ECB to dialogue with the market, not only with banks, but also with other actors in the payment space, like consumers, like merchants, like e-money institutions and acquirers and so on. Mirroring this structure at a domestic level, there are a lot of mirror fora, I would say, that prepare the answers for these consultations and these written procedures. From our side, we started in the end of 2020, just right after the publication of the first digital euro report by the ECB. Mm-hmm. At that time, we were close to Christmas.
So we asked Centas for the digital euro to enable programmable payments, and we started developing 4 use cases for proof of concepts describing different services that would have changed the way citizens and businesses use payments for their needs in a different way, based on split transaction functions or conditional payments functionalities. Those use cases has been the starting of a collaboration and of a dialogue pushing the digital euro for being a sort of raw material enabling commercial banks not only to be mandated in distributing the basic services that are foreseen by the proposal of regulation, but also to build on top of them, like if the digital euro were a sort of money Lego, using Agustin Castren's words, to build innovative services, this way combining a view of the digital euro fit not only for satisfying existing needs for the entire population, but also to be able to grab future needs, and for in this way being prepared for enabling a more digitalized European economy.
Just to be sure, so you're not talking about programmable euro itself, because I think there was a highly political debate about most parties not wanting a programmable euro. But at the same time, also with the current euro, you can do programmable payments, right?
Yes, absolutely. It is not a programmable money, which would change the nature itself of the currency. However, it is possible for us, similarly to what we do with current SEPA schemes, for instance, because we pay our bills not knowing in advance the amount of that bill. This is what happened with direct debit, for instance. Yeah. There are rules we can set to define how our future payments should look like. And this way, and similarly on this, is like putting the euro in a sort of envelope that can be consumed the very first time you pay, but the money inside remain totally fungible and under the full control of the customer without any kind of external interference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. Do you find that there's in general a positive attitude in Italy towards the digital euro within the banking community?
It depends on the probability you associate to the different scenarios. So if the digital euro would remain a sort of system to enable people to pay at the supermarket with the smartphone, no, there is no enthusiasm for something that is already there. But if the digital euro could become a platform for innovation, then this is the idea from which enthusiasm can be rebuilt.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine. How's that for you, Mico? Is the digital euro also something that's on your agenda somewhere at Banca Sella?
I believe every player should put digital euro on his agenda, apart from the enthusiasm. There are some challenges ahead for sure. Silvia summarized some, but there are also some opportunities. So obviously, when dealing with an enhanced digital transformation or strengthening the role of central bank, or also from a more strategic point of view, mitigating the dependencies on non-EU payment systems, this is obviously upside that we see. Since the start of the working group, there were also some concerns together with these opportunities, and I believe some of the challenges related to these concerns are not solved yet. Especially for what is around the revenues opportunities that might arise with new value-added services, the activities related to onboarding clients and performing IML checks on the clients, and for what concerns the nature of the wallet itself, to understand what role commercial banks will play on this new wallet. Anyway, we are in the tables, in the working groups, together with many other players in the industry. I should definitely say that the whole picture is way more clear now than when we started. So my hope is to keep this pace and clarify what still need to be clarified. This could be a huge opportunity for the European market. Unfortunately, we are witnessing war getting closer and closer, and so this might be also an additional tool and a resource to keep European payment network alive in case of a very, very bad news on newspapers.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know in any case that's indeed one of the scenarios that's being put into practice as well behind that. But I think it's actually a lot of payment infrastructure currently has actually that as one of the scenarios that they need to encounter, because we just need to with the increased cyber threats, we need to especially focus on the resilience of the economical infrastructure. Yeah, I guess that's also part of your work. Silvia, trying to keep everyone together and also sharp on these new challenges.
Yeah, definitely. And also I would add the target declared by the ECB and written also by the European Commission about the strategic independence. So when talking about payments, is important to ensure having something which is within your own geography and your own control, I would say. This is very difficult because when we talk about payments, we talk about chips, we talk about infrastructure, we talk about wallets. So there are many actors. However, I do recognize and feel the need of having a more European unified infrastructure that can enable payments in our area. Although I think it would be important for the ECB to add to the framework not only the international card schemes, which are now on their radar, but also considering the possibility for non-European dominant actors to add layers of complexity and bring in fees with these layers as a wallet, as another way to give access to the new payment means represented by the digital euro to citizens.
Yeah. No, I can imagine that. And so do you also? There are some private initiatives, I think, outside of the public sector that aim to have a similar goal. How do you look at that as well? Are you exploring these as well from the banking sector? The Wero, Bizum kind of solutions, are they all? Do you feel that they're being taken into account well enough?
Of course, a group of banks and groups of European countries are defining and designing alternatives to this target. However, one of the challenges posed by the digital euro is that in front of this project, we do understand that the value chain is shorter and there are less money for multiple actors across the chain. So it is hard to see the possibility for banks to invest in too many infrastructural projects at the same time. We already had instant payments. Now we will have the digital euro. How much money would remain available for other infrastructure? I don't see a lot of space. Especially if all these three initiatives would remain live in parallel. So in some way, it should be possible to reuse a public infrastructure to be able to offer private services. This is a way to make synergies among the public target and the public goals set by the ECB and by the co-legislators, and on another side, leaving room for the legitimate expectation of banks to continue to see payments as a business area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that potentially, especially if you have the shared goal of European independence, that there should be one way or the other to work something out, right? Yeah. Thanks. I think I'd like to explore a bit more with you. I think the central bank digital currency, we talked about a lot, but if we zoom out a bit more to the broader crypto space, we've been dealing there with some new regulations, of course, coming into force with MiCAR. I'm really curious what your take is on that and how you see that that's actually changing your work also on a day-to-day basis. Maybe, Mico, can I start with you? Can you tell me a bit, how do you look at MiCAR at the moment? Is it a lot of work to implement it for the projects that you're working on, or does it shape new opportunities? What's going on?
Look, as we were saying for the digital euro, when you see major regulatory frameworks entering into actions, there's also a mixed feelings because there's both challenges and opportunities for business. Obviously, this is very close to what my team is working on right now. I see there's a huge this is a huge turning point in the market. Both MiCAR and TFR requires a lot of actions. I believe that if you want to, focus on some of the upsides and opportunity, the market was waiting since a long time for a standardization effort. So we now have a unified regulatory framework all across the European Union, and the first goal will be reducing fragmentation. There's in the end a clear taxonomy over tokens that can harmonize compliance requirements for business, especially the ones that are operating in multiple jurisdictions. Obviously, this could also be a new tool for improving EU competitiveness compared to Asian and North American markets mainly. There's maybe some enhanced consumer protection after a phase in which some of the topics now covered by MiCAR were left in that kind of gray area. So more transparency and more safeguards toward customers may improve the credibility of the whole market, not only in crypto, but also in the payment sector. And plus, we will see the start of a new whole business model launch around tokenization of assets. Maybe the biggest effort of MiCAR, as I was referring to before, was to provide a taxonomy that now explicitly regulates the issuance of asset reference tokens or e-money tokens and utility tokens also. So this will encourage the launch of compliant security tokens, and I believe there's a huge opportunity for financial institutions that waited this time to enter the market with lower entry barriers and with less reputational risk connected to this kind of business. Plus, there's a new space for collaboration opportunities when dealing with all the new streams that MiCAR can enable, for example, custody or tokenization or issuance and distribution of the e-money tokens. We will see way more cooperation in between companies, native crypto companies, let's say, tech providers, financial institutions that might work together also on interoperabilities. And I believe that this will also bring us to a new development of the single organization with new skills getting in on both sides of the market. So we are seeing a lot of people with banking background finally getting into these technology companies, raising the level of attention on client protection and on fraud prevention mainly. And at the same time, on the banking side, we are seeing people coming from the digital asset world, people that were exposed to the peculiarities of these solutions and that now can better fit a banking environment when dealing with these topics. Yeah. Last but not least, I believe that this is just the first step of a long path. So as it already happened with other European mega regulations, this is still a complex one. A huge compliance effort is required to start. There's some space for interpretations yet, and there's a long run to get to a final clear pictures that can really enhance the market opportunity. And on this topic, I believe that the collaboration in between market operators and regulator can play a pivotal role. And that's why we are seeing a lot of market players reducing time and space in talking with the regulators around this topic, and find a graceful way to deal with this new business in a compliant way, protecting customers.
Do you see that it becomes easier for you, for example, also internally, to actually talk about crypto-related projects compared to before MiCAR? Is it also an enabler for it actually to become, as a regulated business, becomes also more fitting with the nature of a bank?
I believe that crypto is just part of the broader phenomenon. We should start consider crypto as one of the possible cash legs of the asset that will be movemented over this new on-chain market. It will require probably 10 times to get 10 years to get there. And in the while, I believe there's some room for financial institutions to start dealing with crypto with a clear aim. The aim is to protect customers, raise the level of knowledge both inside the companies and in the market, to provide a better protection, and also to deal with the regulator and try to reduce as much as possible that gray area that left a lot of customers without protection in the last few years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely, I agree. It's great that we got a good step up there, because more protection was definitely necessary. Although you could also wonder now that while the crypto prices are going up, whether some people are not getting too enthusiastic again. Silvia, how is that on association level? Do you see, is it also something that you see a lot of discussions between banks at this level? And what are your sort of expectations going forward on MiCAR?
Yeah, to be honest, I think that the actions from national authorities and central banks in particular, discouraging banks from being too active in this space, has freezed for a while the attention of the market on this topic. Yeah. However, we should be able, I think, to very much distinguish between the cryptocurrency itself, which are requested by the market just because their volatility. So for as an asset to invest in, and the crypto assets as a tool for more real economy related projects. Those two worlds requires, in my view, a different regulation, whilst now almost everything is in MiCAR, even though the regulation itself sets that financial instruments should be considered outside the perimeter. So first of all, financial instruments are outside the perimeter, but then ESMA has been called to provide RTS, and of course they deal with financial instruments. So yes. Thanks to the window opened by the RTS, a regulation which sets rules that are typical for payments market or e-money, electronic money, now are enriched, let me put it this optimistic way, by market abuse, conflict of interest, prospectus, and everything which is typical of the financial market. Of the financial instruments. So this way, MiCAR is now looking like a sort of Frankenstein regulations, where crypto assets are subject to both the typical regulation for payments and the typical regulation for financial instruments. More clarity would be maybe a good starting point for the next update of MiCAR.
Yeah, I like that picture of the Frankenstein of the financial industry walking about. I think it's definitely tough indeed. You see that there's a lot of regulatory push back towards crypto, which makes it really hard. I think especially for smaller parties to comply with these new regulations. I see quite a big shakeout, I think, across Europe with smaller parties that are just not able to cope with the demands. How do you see that in your environment? Do you also see, Mico, do you see, for example, certain partners that you were working with or parties you were exploring that have difficulties in these times to stay compliant, or actually refer to you as a bank to perhaps help out?
I definitely believe it is not easy, especially in this first phase, to comply. There was a huge effort. It required a lot of time. And as usually happens, the regulations follows many market activities with the aim of putting patches around, So on one end, I have, frankly speaking, to agree with what Silvia said. I believe we now face a risk, and the risk is to unbalance the needed balance in between giving space to innovation and acting in a regulated environment. Okay, so when a very huge regulation steps in, obviously the risk is to unbalance this and to have all the forces committed on getting compliant as soon as possible, losing a lot of business opportunities.
Especially in the case where the regulators already are not that enthusiastic about certain area of expertise, right?
The point is not only being enthusiastic, in my view, the point is also regulators needs time to adapt to new regulations. So amazingly enough. And so when market operators are asking questions and there's no real-time answer, that could turn into a lost business opportunity. That's why I believe working closely with the regulators, especially in this phase of new regulation, can play a pivotal role. On the other hand, that allowed many market players to enter the space. And so to get back to your questions, we are seeing both on the RegTech side, on information providers supporting over the transfer of fund regulation, for example, on forensic tool to analyze what is going on the wallets when you're custodying. There are a lot of players that are stepping in that might reinforce the way banks deal with these new businesses. Also for them, a huge effort on understanding the framework now is needed. So I believe we will need time and get back to these questions in a couple of years to see if also the European Union was open to find some fine-tunings around the regulation.
Do you feel now that we're actually really going to lag behind the US, for example, and other areas which may not have strict regulations like this?
In this particular phase, I see European Union as still a competitive advantage because some regulation or also a huge regulation, it is better than no regulation at all. Yeah. The point is, if we take into consideration the time needed to launch MiCAR and now TFR, and the time that we'll need to fine-tune on this regulation, and knowing how fast United States can rule if they want, this same competitive advantage might last little than expected.
I can imagine. Yeah. I think we almost have to wrap it up. I think Silvia, maybe some final words from you. What are you looking ahead for, especially now in the coming period? What are you enthusiastic about, perhaps outside of the central bank digital currency and MiCAR range? Anything else that you're excited about that you're working on?
Yeah, I think we didn't mention the work on the wholesale CBDC side. I would say that, and recalling something which is included in the Draghi report recently published, we are entering in tough times. And when things get tough, there is more room for cooperation. We talked a lot in the past about the possibility to compete with each other whilst cooperate in basic and infrastructural layer, calling it competition. This word underlie a lot of hard work, very, very hard, which from an association perspective, we feel in particular. But I think that there is room for setting up a sort of new generation of banking infrastructure, which takes life from a cooperative approach. So if we will be able to build this kind of new generation infrastructure, we will be able to compete to the rest of the world and to be stronger, relying on European native resources. And this is the challenge ahead, in my view.
Yeah, I agree. But quite interesting indeed to follow as well what might happen there. And how about you, Mico? What else are you looking out for?
I would say we discussed many dots. I think that the layer that we connect these dots will be the most interesting things in the industry in the medium term. There's new value-added services over wallet. There's tokenized economy. There's a new world of solution over the cash lag. There will be CBDCs. There will be new digital identities attribution. We will see if there's space to put all these new tools together in a mega wallet. I believe this is a very interesting time for the industry. We might find ourselves with the 3.0 fintech technology, having all the financial resources needed for the customers in a single place. And this is very interesting, not only for banks, but for financial technology player and also for regulators. Yeah,
I totally agree, Mico. I think we're all looking forward to that. So I think I would really like to thank you for sharing your insights and the projects that you're working on already today. I look forward to continue the conversation at a later moment. So thanks again, Silvia, for joining us.
Thank you
for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to see you again soon. And also thank you, Mico. Also looking forward to follow what Banca Sella is doing. And looking forward to talking to you both very soon at another moment. Thank you all for listening to Breaking Banks Europe.
Thank you.
Mico. Yes, and thank everyone for listening in on Breaking Banks Europe, episode number 256, News from the Fintech Front. My name is Don Ginsel, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with Fintech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.